Hey guys, Marcus Kakin from Blindside Football, back for some more GPP picks. Had some great picks last weekend, really helped me cash big time in a lot of my tourneys. So let's get into this week's picks. Starting off with a couple of quarterbacks. First up, my main quarterback this weekend in my GPPs, Ben Roethlisberger. I can't believe he was only 5% owned in the Thursday night competitions on FanDuel. Just blows my mind. No Le'Veon Bell. Great matchup, depressed price. Got some great targets, obviously, there to throw to, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Heath Miller, who we'll talk about a little bit later, but favored at home, and we know how good Ben Roethlisberger is at home with those home road splits. Guy's just a beast at home. Ben Roethlisberger, my top quarterback play this week in tournaments. Next up, a guy that's really low owned, Peyton Manning. I know he's looked bad, guys, but he came back from that bye week, and the deep ball was looking good. Really low owned in the Thursday night FanDuel tournaments. Just $6,300 on DraftKings. You get the revenge narrative game against Indianapolis. He's playing in ideal conditions in a dome. Peyton Manning, a real interesting look at quarterback this week in tournaments. Now, running backs, Chris Ivory. This guy, I subscribe to Fantasy Labs. I love Fantasy Labs. And my guy, Graham Barfield, who actually used to write for us over here at Blindside Football, put up an excellent article this week. And one of his subjects was Chris Ivory and how he performs when he's favored at home. And when he's favored at home, he smashes expectations. I believe the implied fantasy point total for him based on his salary is usually 9 fantasy points when he's favored at home. And he typically scores 19 points on average when favored at home. So just smashing expectations when favored at home. Ryan Fitzpatrick banged up, obviously has the torn ligament in his non-throwing hand. So maybe we see a lot more Chris Ivory this week. Should be relatively low owned because of his couple of duds he's put up the last couple weeks. But he's been getting the workload. So Chris Ivory, a guy that I have on a lot of my tournament teams this weekend. Another guy, Ronnie Hillman. This is another guy that going really low owned. Thursday night competitions on FanDuel, just 3.9% owned. 19 touches each of the last 2 weeks, and he's getting all of the red zone looks. Had 5 red zone looks last weekend to C.J. Anderson's 1. So you like seeing that ratio. You like seeing him get the ball in the red zone. And the Colts have been very bad against the run this year. Denver's projected to win this game, so maybe they grind it out with him a little bit more as they get into the game. At $4,600 on DraftKings, an absolute steal. Another absolute steal right in that same ballpark, LeGarrette Blount. I know it's hard to know when is the Blount game coming, when is it not, and I know it's a small sample size, but when the Patriots are favored by at least 2 touchdowns, like they are this weekend, LeGarrette Blount, 20 or more fantasy points in every one of those games. So at $4,800 on DraftKings, 4.3% owned in the Thursday night FanDuel competitions, a great guy for tournaments. Wide receivers, going back to the Patriots well here. Brandon LaFell, just 4.4% owned on the FanDuel competitions Thursday night. 7 or more targets in every game this season that he's played. Obviously was a top-tier wide receiver last year with Tom Brady. He's back. He's healthy. 33 implied point total this week by Vegas for the Patriots. Somebody has to score those touchdowns. Maybe it's Brandon LaFell's turn this week. Next up, Allen Hurns. We all know about Allen Hurns' big playability, but I think this is more a play on who he's matched up on and who Allen Robinson's matched up on. Allen Robinson will obviously face Darrelle Revis. Nobody wants to face Darrelle Revis, and typically the quarterback knows, don't throw towards Revis Island. Throw to the other guy. Throw to the Cromartie side. In fact, Antonio Cromartie, not the defensive beast you think he is. He's allowed 5 passing touchdowns this season, so I think this is an Allen Hurns game. He's going to be targeted early and often. Cromartie letting up those touchdowns, so I really like Allen Hurns this weekend. Probably my top play at wide receiver this week, and I know he's not a sexy name, but Emmanuel Sanders. Yes, his price is very close to his teammate Demarius, but I absolutely love Emmanuel Sanders this weekend, and here's why. Vontae Davis will be lined up with Demaryius Thomas. Vontae Davis has not allowed a single receiver this year over 55 receiving yards. He has been a shutdown quarterback for the Colts. And because of that, again, just like the Allen Robinson situation, teams have been passing towards the other quarterback, in this case, Greg Toller. Greg Toller has only been activated for 4 games so far this season, but he's already allowed 382 passing yards, including 3 games where he's allowed over 100 yards receiving. I love Emmanuel Sanders this week. I think he takes advantage of that matchup. And obviously Peyton's smart. He knows to watch that game film. He knows what to look for. He's going to know that Emmanuel Sanders is going to pick apart Greg Toller. Amari Cooper. I love Amari Cooper this weekend. Faces a cornerback matchup in Antoine Blake that's allowed the 2nd most receiving yards out of any cornerback this season and the most receptions. This game is projected to have the Raiders playing from behind, and Derek Carr has looked very, very well over the last couple of weeks. I think he finds for Amari Cooper for at least 1, if not 2 touchdowns, and he's going to get you that 100-yard bonus on DraftKings. Finally, my tight end play of this week. He's my top play of this week, even more than Gronk at the value. I can't believe he's not more owned, but Heath Miller, just 5% owned in FanDuel tournaments on Thursday night, blows my mind. We know to start your tight end against the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders have allowed a touchdown to the opposing tight end in all but 1 game this season. And Heath Miller, just amazing with number 1, Ben Roethlisberger back. In games with Ben Roethlisberger versus games without Ben Roethlisberger over the last 2 seasons. 4 times as many fantasy points, 4 times as many receptions, and 4 times as many yards. And then in games where Le'Veon Bell has been out, twice more likely to score a touchdown. Heath Miller, $2,700 on DraftKings, an absolute steal, coming off a 10-catch, 105-yard performance in Ben Roethlisberger's first game back last week. My number 1 play at tight end this week. Don't forget to check out my cash game lineups up on blindsidefootball.com, and good luck everybody this weekend.